You, yes, you have been chosen by God to hear this message that this trend is a thing on YouTube. Yes, that's right. God wants you to know a whole bunch of stuff. Now, how do we know that God wants you to know? Well, just take a look. Look at all the things that God wants you to know. Here we go. Check it out. God wants you to know 10 things. That was 3 years ago, though. I guess that's probably out of date. Of course, you can understand God's will or misunderstand it. And God wants you. How do you know when God doesn't want you with somebody? Uh, God wants you to know things. God wants you to know this. How will you know? God is telling you to do this thing. God sends you the one. God does this. God wants that. God's going to tell you all sorts of things. Now, what's interesting is that although God apparently wants me to know all sorts of things, God itself is using humans to tell me and you what God wants. Yes, all these things that God wants you to know. Hashtag whatever. How do I know what God wants me to do? God wants you to be alone. God wants you to do. God. All the things that God wants. Miracles, and magic, and mystery, and all this stuff provided by humans to you. If you're scrolling, you should stop scrolling. God wants you to stay single. God wants you to know this before 2023. Oops, too late now. It is 2023. Oh well, God wants you to know this today. He wants you to know the truth. Does not want you to move on. Wants you to have favor in your life. And wants you to be with someone. Wants you to know him. Wants to take care of you. All these things. How do we know that God wants any of these things? Since God is, for whatever reason, using all these people to tell us what God wants us to do. Why doesn't God just say, hey, this is what I want you to do, or what I don't want you to do? No. The best way, clearly, that God has to communicate is to use YouTubers. God wants you to grow up, wants to remove somebody out of your life, how God is trying to speak to you. Lord wants you to know this. He wants you to stop doing things. All these things. Yes, God wants a bunch of stuff. But mostly, God wants your money in church. So, all right. Here's the thing. If you think that you're hearing God, that could be a problem. How do you know if it's God? Well, simple experiment could show that it's God. If you think that you're hearing God, you get a couple of cups that are that are opaque. You can't see through them, and you flip a coin and let it land, and you quickly put the cup over that coin and shake it around, and you mix the cups real fast, and then you so that you've lost sight of where the coin is, and you pray to God, what side is the coin on, and not only that, but which cup is it in, and then you pick it up. And God will tell you which cup it's under. The first time it should be under there, and it should be the thing, and if that works the first time, then do it again, and get more cups and coins involved, and mark how many times you get hits. And if you get any misses, you're done because God's clearly not talking to you. But I've been told many times, don't test God. Well, why not though? Why not? How do you know if it's God unless you're allowed to test it? Anyway, so I don't think that God is telling us what to do on YouTube, or telling any person what to tell you that God said to do. I think it is, rather, just a good way to get your attention onto the video. Did it work? Well, if you're watching this video, then it did. And if not, then God has a message for you from me. Be an atheist. That's right. God wants you to not believe anymore. Why? Well, see, God is the God of skeptics. And it's only going to reward those who don't believe in it. It's up to you, though. If you choose to not believe in God, you too can be saved. But if you do believe in God, well, I'm afraid there's a terrible fate awaiting you. So, choose to not believe. Or else. Thanks for watching, and remember, God probably didn't say a darn thing. Maybe. Probably not. Yeah. Goodbye for now. I'll be back. Or God will be. God won't be back. God was back. God isn't back. God doesn't want you to know diddly squat. The end. Finn.